Hello and welcome to the NRCPL Hangout for, what day is it today? Tuesday, March 22. And I just got a text from my wife, so I'll just have a quick look at that. Okay. That's terrible. So today we're going to look at the LPSS.me system, and I'll be honest, I'm going to stall for a little bit because Danny is in the process of rebooting it. We had someone go into it a bit earlier and have issues, and something wasn't auto-loading properly. Also, I hope your version of the video is better than my version of the video. I'm doing this from the home office, hence the mess, but also hence Eastlink cable internet service, which is nowhere near what they advertise their internet service to be. So the bandwidth isn't great. It's like you can't win, right? So I have good bandwidth, but I'm on my mobile phone, or I'm on my laptop, which is suffering from Windows 10, or I'm at home, so I should have good bandwidth. I have a good computer that I'm working off of, but the bandwidth is, for some reason today, awful. And every once in a while, interrupted by trains going by, but I like trains, so that's okay. So first thing, before we pop into anything, I want to tell you that we're doing another survey, and so I'm going to ask that people contribute to that survey. And so what I'm going to do, I'll just pop the screen share here. So let's start the screen share, and of course we have the inevitable thing that goes back into infinity. But here I am popping into the course management system. This is Grasshopper, and so I'm putting the information about the survey into Grasshopper, participate in the survey. Survey, probably should write a better headline than that, and make that an announcement. So there we have the announcement. Now I've created that post, and so let's view that post and just correct this URL. I keep hitting the wrong button. World's worst video cast. All right, and I'm going to expand that big on the screen for you to see. So if you go to this URL, www.downs.ca/post/65151. That's www.downs.ca/post/65151. That'll take you to the survey, and you can fill that out at any time. Now I'm also going to put this information into the course management screen. So, but I can't do it right now because, well, I'm in the middle of a webcast. I guess that's a good first reason. But also I have to be on VPN to get into the authoring screen for that. So much for that idea. But I'll put it into the Open edX system after this webinar. So we've got viewers. That's great. I'm hoping that Danny has finished rebooting the LPSS.me website. Let's see if it's running. It is. So without further ado, because we don't have a whole lot of time today, I'm going to pop into the LPSS.me website. I will explore the site, take a look around. I'll explain to you some of what our thinking was as we look at it. Just a caveat, first of all, this code is almost 2 years old. We've been updating it and adding things to it since then, but the concept and the design is before we've done the surveys, before we've done a lot of the research. So, and I have to be careful because if I lean on this table too much, it rocks, and that causes the camera to rock. Oh, yeah, I need a better table. So anyhow, it's before all of the surveys. So, you know, it's not everything it could be. It's certainly not the finished product. We're doing a new version of the whole thing that we've codenamed Archie. We'll be showing you that in the last week of the course. But for now, this is what we started with. This is what we put out there to get initial feedback on. And this is what we've been doing the research on. And, you know, also too, there's a lot that you can get from what we've put up here, just in terms of what our thinking was, what our ideas were, etc. So let me pop into the screen share. So this is lpss.me. This is the home screen that normally you would see. If you're going there for the first time, you'd sign up for the pre-release. So you'd fill in this form. The main thing about this form, besides your name and email, which we really need in order to confirm your registration, is the agreeing to or not agreeing to be part of the research and the development and the updates. You don't have to agree. You know, if you don't want to be part of the research, if you don't want to receive any emails, no problem. That's fine with us. But you need to indicate a preference. And if you don't want to be bothered by us after, just tick the appropriate box and we won't bother you. If you don't want to be part of the research, again, tick the appropriate box and we won't bother you. So I'm going to log in. So, and let's hope the password works. We always hope the password works. So this is one of the things, we've had some scaling issues. So it's a little bit slow to start up. So this is what mine looks like. And I know some of you have gone in and not seen any resources or anything at all when you've started up. Ideally, when we launch this thing, we should have some resources preloaded, but we did not have resources and stuff preloaded, so that did not happen for you. But this is what it looks like when it's been up and running for a little bit. Now we have the featured resource. This featured resource is our personal learning course. I'll come back to that in a bit. Also, we have recent recommended resources, and we have the competency profile. And that's basically what's on the home page. So let's have a look first at the resources. So the idea of the resources is that the LPSS system is gathering resources from all over the internet. So by all over the internet, we really mean that. It comes from many different sources. So this here, this option here, manage sources, this is where you find the resources. And so when I click on that, you'll see that screen. Now, just as an aside, and I think this is reflective of the design of the system, a lot of the people went first into the competency profile. There wasn't anything for them to look at. That's not so good. And I think that we actually need to be up and running in the system for a little bit before we start thinking about the competencies and what we want to accomplish out of life and learning and everything. But the way we did it the first time is we started with the competencies. What competency do you want? And I personally think that that was a bit backwards, but maybe I'm wrong. You know, maybe I am wrong. So let's look at the sources, and this generally is where I start. So we have a list. Here I have a list of 5 different sources that I can get information from. I've got Coursera, so that's online courses. Udacity, that's also online courses. Buy and Sell is a Government of Canada website which offers opportunities for contracting for government procurement. Open edX, so this is the NRC Open edX system. That's where we're running the personal learning course that you're taking. And Twitter, because that's Twitter. So I can add a new source anytime I want. And here are the various things that I could add from. So for example, and so we have Twitter, I could add a website, I could add an RSS feed, Open Archives Initiative, SlideShare, if I want a list of slides, Eventbrite events, etc. Over time, of course, this list gets bigger. Let's click on RSS. So, and let's see, I'll make it OL Daily. And so I happen to know the address of my OL Daily feed, which is really handy. And why can't I type it? Oh, isn't that weird? Huh. Well, I've never seen that before. Does this mean I can't type generally or just here? Oh, I can type generally. Well, that would be what we call a really weird bug. So let's cancel out of there. Let's try that again. Add RSS next. There we go. So who knows? So news oldaily.xml. Oops, I'll type OL Daily up here. Now what's that little down arrow? There we go. Frequency of update. Well, let's make it daily, right? So I'll click finish. And you can see now it has been added to my list of sources. So for any of these now, I can edit them. And usually there's more stuff in the editing window. So here, for example, Coursera, edit for Twitter, etc. There's not a lot to edit. And of course, I can delete them. So great. So what happens now, I've added this resource. So it says here, resources will soon be collected and appear in your LPSS. So what's happening now, I've added this resource to my resource list. So LPSS is automatically going out to this URL, newsoldaily.xml, retrieving the resources that are there and bringing them in and adding them to the resource graph that is part of LPSS. We can also import a list of resources from an OPML file. I'm not going to actually have one right handy, but I could either import it from a file that's on my desktop, or I can provide a URL for an OPML file. So this is the sort of thing, if you were joining a company or beginning a project or something like that, part of what would happen is they would send you a list of sources by OPML. You would just import those sources and voila, now you're getting all the resources relevant to that company or to that product. So that's the managed sources part of it. Let's see if anything's been added yet. So I'll go back to the home page, which I've done by clicking on lpss.me, and it's harvesting. So So no, there's nothing has come in yet. That's stuff from earlier. So let's browse the resources. So now what we're doing is we're looking through all of the resources that are available on the system. You know, by resources, you probably already gathered, we construe that very widely. We mean everything from an online course to an event, to a tweet, to something labeled buy and sell, to pretty much anything else. And so here's the resource. We can go straight to the URL for that resource, and you can see it pops up in another window here. So here we are connecting to Udacity, and there should be a course here popping up anytime now. Thank you, Eastlink, for the rapid broadband access. So here we are, the big data course, machine learning on super. That looks like a pretty good course, actually, and so on. So, but let's dig a little deeper, and this isn't really part of the normal user interface in the final product, but let's go into raw data. So this is the raw data of the resource, and we don't just simply store a single record for the resource. We actually store a set of relationships between this resource and a bunch of other resources in a graph. And so you can navigate through that graph. I probably shouldn't have clicked courses because that might take a little while to pop up. This is one of the things also that we're working on with the new version, is a newer, faster graph database. So now here I've popped into a competency. This is a competency by the Treasury Board Secretariat. So you see, and now here's the relationship between the competencies and other things. So let's go back and forth for a second. Here's the resource. Here's the competency. And you see there's a linkage between the resource and the competency. This resource, this linkage isn't predefined. This linkage is derived by the system. So we look at the content of the resource, we look at the contents of the competency, and we derive the fact that, oh, this resource matches this competency. And so ultimately, that allows us to find resources by competency. So, you know, on the surface, this site doesn't necessarily look like a whole lot, but there's some pretty interesting matching stuff happening underneath. So now let's look at the recommended list of resources now, and this is the view actually that we had when we came into the system. Again, we're waiting. Thank you, Eastlink. Well, and I guess a little bit thank you, Python. So here's the list of resources that it's recommending to me. And it really likes to recommend machine learning, but it's also recommending this economic issues, food and you. Great, thanks. That's a commentary there. Climate change, so on and so forth. These will be related to the competencies that I've selected that I'm interested in. So I can also narrow down and look at events. So I don't have any events, but if I had any events, they would show up here. Oh, I do have events. Surprise. Didn't realize I had events. Chinese politics, part 2. Oh, okay, yeah, these are course sessions and things like that. So again, now, these are recommended events. So March 2016, what's the date today? Oh, so this is next week, I guess. Or no, that was last week. So this is today, the 22nd, and the next upcoming event, at least of the resources that I've harvested, right, is this thing that's taking place April 1st. So that's the resources bit. We have a thing called Toolkit. So here's the Toolkit. And basically, the toolkit is a bookmarklet. And the idea of the bookmarklet is you drag it to your bookmark bar, and then you can start adding resources to LPSS as you browse the web. So let's do that. So I'll put it right here, right in between, right before the Digolet, right? It's the same kind of concept. So here's the LPSS toolkit. Oops, let's move to a different site here. So let's look up machine learning. It's a subject of deep interest to me. So machine learning. They've really managed their search engine optimization there for the machine learning. But okay, U of T machine learning. So that looks pretty interesting to me. So now let's hit the LPSS toolkit. Let's hit the LPSS toolkit. There we go. And so I can add this now as a source. So U of T machine learning. So now what this is going to do is it'll take this page and related pages as a source. And it'll harvest the links and references from this page, and now they've been added to the graph as well. So U of T machine learning. This is just a note to myself. Page and resources. And I'll save that. So where would I like to save it? I'll save it there in LPSS. There's my preview. I'll finish it. So now I've added that as a source. So now we'll come back here to my sources. And you can see it has been added. So what's going to happen now is LPSS is going to go back to this page every day and look and see if they've added any new links or any new resources to it. If new resources have been added, they'll be harvested, they'll be matched up with the competencies, and they'll be available to me as as I use LPSS from day to day. So that's how the book market works. Cloud storage is a place to store my big files. My big files are things like Adobe PDFs or maybe videos or things like that. So I have an external account in cloud storage. So I'm going to go to settings and access my external account manager. And again, I'm waiting for a few seconds here because of I don't know. Here we go. So basically, this is my settings for LPSS. I can change my password. I can connect with other users in personal learning record settings, etc. But I'm more interested right now in my external account manager. So I have 2 accounts registered so far. I have XAPI and I have Twitter. Let me add an account. I'll add a Dropbox account. You see I have a bunch of choices, right? Facebook isn't working yet. I have OpenEdX, Experience API. We've set up an Experience API learning record store that we can connect directly into SharePoint, own cloud, which I don't have set up, but if I had it, I have a hard drive in my living room. It's actually literally in my living room. And if I installed software called Own Cloud on it, I could access that software from LPSS wherever I was using Own Cloud. But I'll use Dropbox. So next, and Dropbox name. What is my name on Dropbox? I think it's just Downs. Let's authorize it. So it's going to pop me into Dropbox. Here we go. And it'll ask me to. So this is OAuth 2 permissions. And you can see it's pretty simple. And it's authorized. And so I'll finish it. And so now I've added my Dropbox to my external account manager. Now when I go into cloud storage, oh, I should be able to see my cloud storage here. Here we go. There it is. So pretty cool, eh? This is in fact my Dropbox account. So and I click on that and I can get a count. I really hope I didn't hit something bad. Well, you're not going to be able to see it anyways because it's going to open in an external viewer. So, but anyhow, these are all my different files that I could open up in Dropbox. I'm saying you couldn't see it. That's because of the way the Hangout is set up. I'm sharing only my web browser, and this would have opened up in a different program, an image editing program, because that's how I have that set up. So let's go back to settings and look at some of the other stuff. So again, password I can change as much as I want. Here's the consenting. You can turn off your consents to research anytime you want. Here, personal learning record settings. Here, I've allowed automatic recording of user actions. Now, part of this right now is simply for us to gather data about how you're using LPSS, but it's also to allow the system to learn about you. And as the system learns about you, as you click on things, view things, add sources, etc., it learns about the things that you like and the things that you don't like. Now, right now, in this version of LPSS, it's still pretty primitive, but it's getting more and more sophisticated as time goes by, and the ARCHI system that we're setting up that will be available for us to look at in a few weeks has fairly sophisticated associative mechanisms built in that allow it to infer from behavior, user actions to other data. And specifically to infer from user actions to make recommendations about what resources you might want to look at, what events you might want to attend, what people you might want to contact, etc. Let's look at competencies briefly. So we'll go into manage competencies. So here's the list of competencies that are available on my system. So in theory, import competencies. I'm not sure if this is working at the moment, but the idea is that we can import new competency files. Now, as it says here, only files created by the LPSS team are supported at this time. So you need a list from the LPSS team. In time, the intent is to support competencies, competency profiles created by external agencies that are represented in a canonical competency notation. So school board comes out with a list of outcomes. If they're represented in the appropriate format, then we can simply import them into LPSS, and now their outcomes have become my outcomes, and the recommendations that I receive will be based on those desired outcomes. So here's the competencies. I can add as well a new competency. Let's give it a name. Webinar. Next, keywords separated by comma. So webinar, internet, audio, video, hangout. And I'm done. And so now it's adding this new competency. And we're going to see it. It's going to load and it'll be under G there somewhere because I called it giving a competency. So, and it's taking its time to add this competency, which is unfortunate. Again, I don't know whether to blame the system or to blame Eastlink. You just never know. So meanwhile, while we're doing this, we're looking at these. I can look at all of the competencies, or I can choose to view only my competencies. And as you can see, I've only picked 3 for myself. With each competency, there's a set of resources associated with it. Presuming that there's no error in the system, I'm not sure why that would occur. But like I say, this is totally a prototype. And so it's going to be really slow now. Now it's going to be really slow because I'm online doing a live webinar, and so that's when it's going to be really slow. As you can see, we've gathered competencies from the Treasury Board of Canada Secretariat and Association of Professional Engineers and Geoscientists of British Columbia. So those are the 2 basic sets of competencies we've added, and ultimately there would be a list of competency sources that we can choose from. Let's pop out of this and see if we can't do something else, because I don't know why it's taking so long. I hope it okay, so all right, so finally, because we're running out of time for this today, and I haven't covered everything, but this is the credentials. Right now, this is just simply credentials that you enter in yourself, so there it is. Next to cancel, and I've added my philosophy degree, my BA from a number of years ago. I can add another one. So University, Calgary, type transcript, diploma. Next, you completed 1987. Yeah, it's been that long. MA philosophy. And I'll finish, and there it's been added. So that's pretty manual right now, but as you take courses online, courses will offer certificates and badges and things like that, and these will be gradually accumulated on the screen, and then from the screen you'll be able to export and create your own CV, your own learning record. So let's create, that's the new credential thing. There is a place somewhere, I'm not sure where it is, to export my CV. I know it's been implemented. Maybe it's only implemented in the development version, but I know it exists. So the idea, right, is you can go from all the way from competencies to, so here's the managed competency. These are my 3 competencies, remember. So from competencies all the way through to taking your materials, your courses, whatever, you get certificates, badges, which are awarded, and then these badges can be printed out as part of your personal learning record. So here's the personal learning course. So right now, this is the content of the course, and as you can see here, I can open up the course right here in LPSS. Look at that, there's the video right there, and for any other part of the course that we've covered that exists, this all shows up inside LPSS. And the idea here is anything that you're doing, any course that you're taking, whether it's from OpenEdX or Coursera or Udacity, etc., you can actually take the course, the content, etc., right from within your LPSS environment. Several major reasons for that. One reason is now your activities that you're doing in the course can be tracked by your own system. So you can learn about yourself. Secondly, you have some sort of consistency of interface. Third, all the work that you do is done right here within your local environment, and you don't have to be in the remote environment in order to do this. So you have all of your, anything that you created, your assignments, anything you uploaded has been done through your LPSS system. So you have it all after your course. And finally, it's just kind of neat to be able to do this. So here we are, and here's the LPSS live hangout on there, and we should see this in just a couple of seconds here maybe, or it might not show up because it's Google+. This is still experimental. We can take our live hangout on air from inside our LPSS environment. So that's a very quick overview of what we've got up and running inside inside lpss.me. There's a lot more to it that we're adding. As I say, in ARC, there will be more stuff. What's really missing, and I think people know this, here's getting a webinar. Oh, see, 99 resources. Let's see if that shows up anything. That's pretty impressive. You know, there's the thing that people have said really is missing at this point in time is the mechanism to facilitate community formation, interaction. I'm pretty alone right here, right? But as time goes by, you know, especially with the new Archie product, one of the things we're building in right from the start is community building, interaction, things like that, so that you have friends and you have help. And you know, you're not all alone as you use this system. I think what happened here, 90 resources, I think everything that is a webinar came up. Well, that should be the case, I guess, because, you know, I mean, if it's a webinar, it helps me learn how to give a webinar. I should take some of these. It might teach me how to do this better. So that's it. That's it for the screen sharing portion of today's event, and that's it for today's Hangout. I'm going to go have a look at your contributions to the course discussion session after, or have a look at what you've put on Twitter. In fact, I'll do that very quickly before I go. Let's see if you've put stuff on comments on Twitter related to this. And see, it's not just us. I'm waiting for Twitter to load. Okay, clicking home. NRC01PL. So, missed the beginning. Anyone know what was entered for competency? Giving a webinar. I wish the text was legible. I'm so sorry about that. I wish it was legible too. And I made it as big as I could. And back end of OpenEdX. So, oh, that's a couple hours ago. You're still on week 2. Okay. Anyhow, go into lpss.me. The text will be legible when you're browsing on it, browsing it on your own web browser. Find some resources. You know, add Coursera as a resource, add Udacity as a resource. You begin to see these course listings show up. Again, as we roll out Archie, we will be adding more course providers as well. If you are a course provider, all you need to do to be included is to tell us how to access your course listings using JSON or some kind of API. The more consistent it is, the easier it will be for us to add it. And that's it. There's but that's some of the basic thinking behind what we've done so far and some sign of where we're going in the future. So I'm going to sign off now. Thanks for taking the time to attend. It's a slightly longer hangout than usual, but we had a lot of content. And I look forward to seeing your comments in the course discussion area and elsewhere. So I'm Stephen Downs. This is the home mess of an office in Castleman, Ontario, Canada. And this has been the March 22 broadcast, week 5 already, from Personal Learning MOOC NRC 01. Bye, everyone.